in Wake County. We've done communications and in project management and county manager's office. So working with all different departments on all different types of special projects, a little bit of everything, lots of transportation, but also things like diversity, equity, and inclusion, and how we take care of our parks and maintain them, just all different types of things. So really enjoy the transportation work that I've done. Some really interesting and unique policy opportunities that I had to work on with transportation and big transit plans and things like that. So I'm excited to be here and bring that experience to the team.
Where's home for you? Just out of curiosity.
Raleigh.
You got to come from Raleigh?
Yeah.
Hopefully you can avoid the traffic.
So far, it's not been too terrible. So.
All right, cool. Let's go around the room.
Red Washington.
Oh, nice to meet you.
Positive shot.
Fresh number.
Art Medius.
Amy Cole.
Michael Hughes.
Jamie Crandall.
Hi, Jamie.
And my only request of everyone is when y'all leave, when y'all sign the sign-in sheet by the door, so I can make sure I get proper attendance.
Yeah, okay.
If y'all wanna do it, that's fine too, as long as it's fun.
We have nobody from the public, so I haven't heard any emails or anything like that from the public, so no comments. If I do get any emails, I'll share them. They come up.
We've got 2 sets of minutes to review. And let's look at them. Let's look at the February 17th first. Are there any comments? Please share them. I have one.
Comment I had was, it looks like we keep changing the at-large and townships, and I think mine's changed a couple times, not that necessarily fair, I hope it matters to the minutes. But do we need to have consistency and accuracy in that?
I believe we do.
I will review it. I know, I'm pretty sure February and March, I actually went based off the list I had from the clerk to the board and what she had, but I will double check with her to make sure everything is listed correctly on the roster.
I don't think there are that many larges. Let's say it's not.
And what does that even mean? I think I'm assigned at large. What does that mean?
That means you're not tied to one specific township, like I'm from Little River Township. You got the whole county to be responsible.
When we did the bylaws, sorry, not bylaws, can't call them bylaws, policies and procedures back in 2012, we removed the special interest and made it more of a geographic distribution to make sure there's a sufficient quorum. So it was more geography, and then there was the at-large for the whole county. So I think the county is divided by 7 townships, and those are the geography to cover the county. The at-large, there was a debate between at-large and alternates. Stuck with at-large to cover the entire county. Yeah.
And it's important to have people representing different jurisdictions, so we make sure we've got a variety of interests.
Members. Yeah, so. Any other February 17 minutes?
Move acceptance.
All in favor, say aye. Aye. All right, how about March 17th?
I abstained from February because I wasn't here. Heidi.
Oh, thanks, Heidi.
Oh, wait.
Anything on March?
Move acceptance.
Michael spelled wrong.
Again, oops.
Everyone.
Look, you just have a common first name.
I think the IRS will come.
You moved with the correction.
All in favor,
This
say
is
aye.
Heidi. I'll second.
Thank you, Heidi. All right, we can move on to the regular outboard agenda. Nish?
First item is the farmland plan. This is a request from the outboard, and Michael is here to present this, and I will share my screen and
Job. Well, everybody, this is the result of probably 3 years worth of work by the Agricultural Preservation Board Subcommittee, chaired by Jane Sayers. Jane is has a farm on Arthur Menace called Ramblerill. And she and the subcommittee members, of which there was probably 8, put hundreds of hours into rewriting the what was called previously the Farmland Protection Plan, and got renamed to the Agricultural Viability and Farmland Stewardship Plan. And the idea was that it's a 5-year living document that is tied to the Orange County 2050 land use plan, and serves to reinforce or provide additional dimension to the work of the Agricultural Preservation Board. And any question, anytime. Yes.
The board reports to the commissioners?
Yes.
Okay.
Yes, it's a board just like this one. The reports to the county commissioners. This is a presentation that we gave to the county commissioners a couple of weeks ago. And it involves recommendations that you'll see a list of them here that is fairly substantial. Got a good foundation and some data collection that we did on existing farms in Orange County and soil types and why farmers are inclined to sell their land and some other factors. So let's go on to the next slide. So our strategic plan, which was a precursor to the land use plan, states that Orange County aims to incentivize and promote sustainable agriculture. I'm not going to read every word on every slide. Let us all consume that.
Excuse me,
But
I'm
what-
sorry. Can someone advance so we can see it on the screen? Those of
okay, I
us
think that's
who's
not
here.
showing. Okay, I think
Thank you.
Yes, Chloe.
Sorry.
Yes. Typo.
So it's just supposed to be 2025.
Give me 1 second. Let me try to fix something. The slides are not advancing properly.
How about now, Heidi? Can you see it?
Well, it wasn't me who was asking, but I
Oh.
can see it.
Sherry, can you see it?
Yes, as long as it
I can
advances, great,
understand.
thank you.
So, we started with what's the definition of sustainable agriculture. You can see the bullet points over there on the left-hand side. And we'll go on to the next slide. So this plan, among other things, meets the guidelines outlined in the general statutes for preferential eligibility for trust fund monies, updates and builds on the predecessor plan, which was adopted in 2009. There's been a lot of changes to Orange County since then. We're proposing actions to be implemented in the next 5 years. And as I mentioned earlier, it's intended to be a living plan and to be updated and reissued biannually. Go ahead. What are the challenges of sustainable agriculture? Well, here's some statistics on the loss of farmland development in Orange County. In 2002, we had 71,000 acres in farms. And that reduced 20 years later to 53,000. And kind of more telling are the amount of acres in crops. And those crops are the soybeans, corn, et cetera. It doesn't talk to animal agriculture, to cattle and sheep. Right. So what are the economics? We a variety of data sources. And these are all pretty substantiated numbers. Average net income of an Orange County farmer in 2022 was negative $2,000. 40% of the farms had less than $2,500 in sales. And farming, unlike yesteryear, is the main source of income for only 30% of farmers. Next slide. What are the opportunities? Well, we want to strive to maintain and preserve the soils, climate, and water resources to support agriculture in the future. Orange County is uniquely endowed with soil that is ideal for agriculture. That same soil is also ideal for septic systems. And hence, the developers tend to focus on the soils and properties that support septic systems out in the county, which tends to be prime farmland. And that speaks to part of the reason why we lose so much. Next point. What we're also seeing is that there's an increase of small diversified farms, including new and beginning farmers. Next slide. Everyone that we have interviewed and talked to, the farmers are passionate about their work and want to keep their land in farming if they can. Several challenges to that, in addition to the notion that they can make more money selling their land than they can farming. But another challenge is the average age, and I think we have a slide about that. The average age of farmers in Orange County is between 60 and 70, and it's a generational thing. There's a lot of young people who can't carry on the family farm that their parents have had. And they're interested in doing other things. And for young farmers wanting to get in, the cost of land and getting started can be overwhelming. Next point. We've also seen an increase in local food hubs with capacities, and expertise to support farmers in expanding their markets. One evidence of that was during COVID, when grocery stores started to run short on things, and there was a big demand from our local farmers for homegrown produce. And that demand still exists today. There's, through the CSA programs, the many farmers, the markets in Carborough and Hillsborough and Durham. Go ahead, next slide. And we also find that our citizens value local agriculture and food grown sustainably and locally. Next slide. So this is a survey that was done for the Land Use 2050 plan through multiple means. And all the compilation of the results of those surveys said 75% of our population said local farms and agritourism should be the foundation of Orange County's regional identity. We should, as a county, serve to protect agricultural and working lands and healthy soils. And 47% at the bottom said family farms are the type of development that they desire in Orange County. So, next slide. So we developed 3 goals to form the foundation of the plan. And goal 1 was to plan for agriculture. Elevate farmland stewardship to being a central consideration in land use planning and decisions. Goal 2, conserve farmland through direct measures. And goal 3, enhance the economic viability of agriculture through those means. And we're going to drill in a little bit deeper into each of these in the next slides to come. So in the plan for agriculture, recommendation number 1, to assess, document, communicate the status of agriculture in Orange County. And we've got, 5 separate actions there. And, what's interesting, if you look at bullet number 3, to an economic impact assessment of agriculture, the data we have seen is that the economic impact of agriculture exceeds the economic impact of sprawling development for a lot of different reasons.
You see the article in the Assembly NC today about Finn Mother's Farm in Cedar Grove.
I did not.
They're grossing 410,000 last year on 2 acres.
Oh,
So there are a few instances like that of people that are doing extremely well on small farms. Yep. Thanks for pointing that out. Next slide. Recommendation number 2,
wow.
elevate agriculture to a primary use in land use planning. We'd like to have an APB member on the planning board. And on the APB, we would like to have a planning board on our board as well, to discuss development and such matters as farmland preservation. And the third bullet down, adopt a prioritization method to identify and target farmland for conservation. Our focus has been on, and we've got good soils maps, and using soils maps as a means for identifying farmland that we want to target for preservation. But you're going to see in a later slide, at the same time, we can't stop land development at all. So there's this notion of providing the means for so-called conservation subdivisions, where, if you take a large tract of land that is prime soil, condensing what would otherwise be a subdivision to spread out across the whole parcel, condensing it to a smaller node, setting aside, much like open space, but in this plan would be sustainable farming on a portion of the land. Probably a little bit more on that later.
Heidi's got a question.
Hey, Heidi.
So, I see that the recommendation is to elevate agriculture to a primary use. Is it not a primary use now? I'm a little confused. I mean, I know that the number of farmlands have gone down, but I feel like that's because it's not something people want to do. So I'm trying to understand this recommendation, how it's going to change things from what we currently have.
It will only change things if some changes to the LDO are pursued through the 2050 plan. This is just a goal, a recommendation for that goal.
And correct me if I'm wrong. Right now, yeah. Heidi, right now, based on the Unified Development Ordinance, there is no primary use. There's no prioritization as to what the uses are. There's a use table that says, okay, these are the things that can happen on rezoning, land use, and by right development, but there's no order as to which is more important than the other. This will be the first attempt at getting one use more important than the other, being conservation of farming land.
Thank you, Nick. Thank you, Heidi. Did that help?
A little. But
I
go
understand.
ahead.
Next slide. So how do we prioritize land for farmland production? Well, first is the USDA soil type. Secondly, less than 8% slope, and land that is not developed and is outside the municipalities and ETJ, extraterritorial jurisdiction. So on the right-hand side is kind of three elements of strengthening the UDO. More effective, most preferred would be to avoiding impacts, secondly, minimizing, and third, mitigating impacts. Go ahead. Goal number 2, conserve farmland through direct measures. 2 recommendations. We have a program in the county called the Land Legacy Easements, in which farmers can have land set aside in a land legacy easement or a conservation easement. And there are funds available in the county for those conservation easements. So in the action department, we're looking to increase funds available for it. And I think if I'm not mistaken, our state to which the county can access some of the funds, I think we have a $1.5 million of funds for the land legacy conservation easements in Orange County. One caveat is that they've got to be met with matching funds from Orange County. Yeah.
When you say conserve the farmland, the agriculture, is that separate or does that include having it actively be farmed? Like this triangle land, that's not what you're talking about, but they protect the land, they don't really get involved with what it's used for.
Right.
So what are we talking about?
Conserving
Is it keeping
that
the farm
acreage
going or keeping the acreage not developed?
keeping the acreage not developed.
If I'm not, and correct me if I'm wrong, and I've heard a little bit more about this. When you get the land becomes that conservation, when it becomes known as VAD or EVAD, it goes on with the legacy. It goes on throughout the period of the land. Regardless of the owner or anything like that, nothing can develop in that land.
We collaborate with the historic preservation sometime because they're come to a property where we could do a county landmark on the buildings. But we can't do county landmark on the land. But if it's appropriate for land legacy, then we can get the whole tract and the buildings protected.
Cool. And back to your point, so, you're right on that the goal is to conserve farmland, but not necessarily conserve farming on the farmland. But once farmland turns into a subdivision, there's no going back.
Right,
And
but you can go fallow.
yeah, yep. Yeah, something like that. And likely, if we don't need the farmland today for local sustenance, we might well down the road.
Thanks.
Oh, you're welcome. Number 2 is use the VAD program as a stepping stone to land's legacy. And the Voluntary Agricultural District, VAD, enables us, and I'm one of them, to set aside our property in a conservation easement for a specific, in the EVAD, they're locked into a 10-year window, a 10-year contract, essentially. The VAD is not locked into a contract, but both are a requisite for getting present use valuation on your land, which results in a lower tax rate. So part of that present use value, if you hadn't heard of it, if you're in the program and you decide to sell your land for development, you have to pay 3 years of back taxes at the rate that it otherwise would have been taxed at if it wasn't in the present use value program. Right, next, thanks.
I'm sorry, I'm a little bit confused by that and this is Sherry, sorry, thank you. Just because we just recently had a huge reevaluation. Well, there was a reevaluation which amounted to like huge increases for most people who live in Orange County.
Yep.
How does this, can you just give me, I don't quite understand how under the current scenario, let's, right now, how would this VAD or how would that be implemented in today's environment?
Well, it's independent of the reevaluation our properties went through. And and so if, we had a farm and the acreage was valued at 100, say it's 100 acres, and it may have been valued at, pick your favorite number. The present use value, tax rate, and it's hard for me to remember the exact percentage unless you do. I think
I
it's probably something like 15% of the regular tax rate. So it's somewhere down in there. And so if your value of your land has increased due to the reevaluation, that doesn't change the rate at which the present use value is taxed. The tax rate is established by the county commissioners, who have the inevitable project job now this year of trying to, given the reevaluation, calculate a new tax rate for the property so that, we don't have double or triple the tax that we had just because our properties increase in value.
VAD properties don't change value even with the reassessment, does it?
Yeah, they do.
How much do they go with the reassessment for VAD properties?
A lot.
VAD properties go higher than the,
No, not necessarily higher, but that's a good question. Maybe the question is the reevaluation proportional?
for VAD
across
properties?
the property types?
Yeah.
No, I think that what I saw based upon some personal experience is that, the developable land, reevaluation reflected the market for development. Whereas, the single family homes on lots more reflected what the market was for those types of housing. That makes sense?
Yeah. VAD and EVAD properties are already in place. The county does have several VAD properties. VAD properties, if you look in the county's GIS layer, you could turn on a layer called the VAD layer. It tells you which properties are currently classified in Orange County as VAD and EVAD.
So Sherry, did that help?
No, but that's all right. Keep going because I have a question at the end that related to it. Thank you. Sorry. It's just trying to get my head around all this. Thank you.
It's all good. And some of the polls that we did with farmers indicate that many of them or us don't have transition plans for what happens when we can't continue farming anymore because we age out of it and we don't have anybody to pick up the farm. So that provided the impetus for us to offer some transition planning and estate planning opportunities provided by a local law firm here in Hillsborough called Cedar Grove Law. There's others that do the same thing. I'm not promoting Cedar Grove, but that was a big part of many farmers haven't given any thought about that kind of transition planning. Or, what happens if they're leasing their fields and all of a sudden the person they're leasing their fields to can't continue or doesn't want to continue, and how do we manage that? So next, goal 3, enhance the economic viability of our agriculture, expand the educational opportunities. And number 2, support farmers in diversifying through agritourism. And that's kind of an interesting subject that given, if those of you that are following the Union Grove farm agritourism proposals, that's kind of rooted in the state code with respect to what agritourism allows and what it doesn't allow. And it's created a bit of a conundrum for the county because of the state regulations don't define that probably as well as many of us would like. opens the door to development. Goal 3, 2 other recommendations: support farmers' expansion into wholesale markets. And number 4, provide citizens and decision makers some education about agriculture and opportunities to engage with farmers. Things like through the farm tour and communicate more about agriculture through the county website. Next. Lastly, goal number 3, 5, offer financial incentives for agriculture.
Oh, okay.
Oh, Chloe, I'm sorry.
And how Mapleview used to be, like you could go and walk around the farm.
Well, that's a great question, and the scope got expanded when some folks in the county decided to create party barns. And party barns, according, I don't know the details of this, but there was incentive to get party barns included as agriculture, and the state code got expanded to allow that as an agritourism feature. And in the case of Union Grove, there's a proposal out there to put a 2,500 seat amphitheater on what used to be Mapleview Farm in the pasture, along with some
Hotels.
a hotel for which there's no sewer. Amy, go ahead.
I missed all that, I did not hear.
I believe the hotel has been removed from the plans.
Oh, that's okay. I didn't know about that. I heard about it.
Yeah, and some cottages, like B&B cottages around the farm, and you know, it's framed in context of what the state code would allow for agritourism, and any farm that can promote agritourism then becomes they don't have to follow the UDO in terms of getting permits.
You know River Market on Lawrence Road and St. Mary's Road. It's this big blue roof market where you can buy flowers, ice cream, go pick strawberries, pick blueberries. It's a huge land of farm. It's a big farm. It's a several big acre, and on the corner of it, on Lawrence and St. Mary's Road, is a shop where you get ice cream, coffees, buy a bunch of plants and flowers, pick cherries and blueberries. Yeah.
So, you know, we're not going to dwell on that slide that much, but it's all about how to strategies or policies to offer financial incentives for agriculture and agricultural development. All right.
That's the rub right there. It costs 40,000 more an acre and burn hard to become a farmer. And it's such a temptation to sell your land and cash in, especially if you're getting past 70 and nobody in the family wants to become a farmer. So the transition planning and transitioning to people outside the family potentially.
And it's like Mapleview would turn into a vineyard.
Well, and so we all have that perspective, right? I mean, what would have been done, because it's not sustainable to have a dairy farm in Orange County anymore. So potential funding, we offered some suggestions: deferred taxes from farmland coming out of the present use value program. So with the acreage coming out of the PUV program and those 3 years of back taxes that have to be paid to allow that to happen, generates, we don't have a good grasp on the number, but some money every year that we're suggested, and it's not a new suggestion necessarily, that those deferred taxes, instead of going into the general fund, get designated for use for farmland protection. And apply for grants. And we have applied for some grants and gotten them, and that was that $1.5 million grant that we got. for farmland preservation. There's some others that we'd like to pursue. Next. And the Orange County vision for agriculture can be summarized through the plan. And we can get you a link to the plan on the county website. And the other thing that's interesting to watch, we can provide a link to as well, is the county commissioner meeting where we presented the plan to the county commissioners. If you haven't seen it yet, and listen to the challenges they've got. This is a perfect storm with what's going on in Washington with our reevaluations and
And the land use plan for 2050, that's addressing this.
yeah, so to try to forward this vision in competition with everything else going on, it's hard. And you know, the water authorities are petitioning the commissioners to also participate in helping for those that can't afford their water bills. So they're getting a lot of requests for funding, and all of them have merit.
Can I, Michael,
Yeah.
this is Sherry. This is very interesting and very well thought out. I may have missed this at the beginning of the presentation, but so this is the vision, and many of those recommendations you have made, some of them I'm guessing could be done by the county. Some of them maybe would you need permission from the legislature? I mean, how some of these, it just seems like this is really something that should happen soon, as opposed to keep getting pushed away, which is what often happens unless you can make it an electoral issue or something, you know. How is there are there some champions on the Orange County board or Orange County Commission that would kind of help? We could help promote, or we could support that champion to try to get some of these things put in place. And is there like 2 or 3 priority things that you think would be the most important for the immediate future that we could get behind? We maybe not the board, but maybe individually.
Great questions. Yes, we do have some commissioners that are very interested in the vision for agriculture. And I would encourage any of us that are inclined to communicate with all the commissioners and share with them the vision that you have or what you read in our plan, not only this one, but the 2050 land use plan. And I understand, Nish, there's going to be an additional comment period on the 2050 land use.
The land use plan has been extended, and it's not going to be completed till the fall or maybe winter. I'm not sure what the full final schedule is. This has become a big hot topic in the land use plan update, and in terms of conservation, it's become a big land use decision thing. So that is where the authority would be, is to the land use plan and the UDO that be updated accordingly. We have more time to provide comments on the land use plan update. So is there a schedule when this is going to be adopted?
No.
There's no schedule when this is going to be approved?
No schedule for when this is going to be adopted. In fact, some of us met today to be thinking about the next steps.
Because if you get this adopted, that's the only way it'll become a reference in the land use plan, is if this is adopted, then it can become a document in the land use plan.
Yeah, it's probably going to be the precedence.
Yeah.
Yeah. But to your point, Sharon, about anything in particular, I think plan for agriculture is an overarching consideration, I think. And then, you know, as you deviate from that or dig deeper into it, then, you know, we have to think about protecting, using methods to protect prime soils, using methods through the zoning, through the UDO to help mitigate urban sprawl. And that would probably be my high level summary. Anybody else have any thoughts?
Protecting our farmland has been a priority in this county in the 65 years since it's become an issue. Since transportation got good enough that people could come to Orange County. That wasn't the case for a long time. So that's, but the rural buffer that Chapel Hill and Carver established around themselves is a statement, problematic statement, but a statement about the value of not developing, not having a sprawl of the signature of Orange County, which still is very different from Wake and Durham.
Yeah, and based on that land use plan, the rural buffer is staying.
Yep. So there has been pressure to adjust, increase the rural buffer to increase OWASA service area, but as Nish said, that as things are right now,
There's no change to the buffer, it's just staying as is.
I just, I think about every time I go to Mebane on the east side,
Yeah.
there's a new cookie cutter housing development, and there's less farmland. And when you have the recent property tax, it has increased the value of land, I'm guessing, so that sales by farmers who were not sure what they want to do in 10 years or 5 years must be incredibly I mean, they just must look at that and think, gee, this is my pot of gold. It's all kind of it's in a big, I mean, it's all together in a big mess, and it would be very nice. This plan would actually have a plan at its essence, on which to try to move forward. So thank you very much for all your work on this.
well, thank you. I appreciate that. But it's not just me, it's a whole group of folks that are interested in agriculture from, our South County all the way up to the northern parts of the county.
And it's great that y'all have a 5-year plan. That 5-year plan means you will be updating in the next 3 years. You'll start the update in 3 years.
Like Sherry said is right. If you look at the news on Orange, half the paper anymore is Mebane approving new development.
And the land use plan takes into consideration Mebane's growth in the future and Durham's non-growth in the future. So it takes that into consideration. Also, Hillsboro's reduction in their urban service boundaries being reduced, and that's in the consideration. So that land preservation has become a big topic in the land use update.
Okay, so I had a question. This is Heidi.
Hey,
And you've got a hand up over here too.
It says, I
Hand
think
up
the
over
hand
here,
might be
too.
mine. I'm just trying to figure out, there wasn't a lot in this presentation about improving transportation, land use with, better access to other things. And so I guess I'm a little confused about what kind of comments we're supposed to provide here. Anyway, so that's my question is how is this tying into transportation and what our comments are supposed to be?
Good question. One of the realizations is that urban sprawl necessitates updating of our transportation network. And it also runs contrary to the Orange County Climate Action Plan. When you have more cars on the road and you have sprawl, then you're not.
I mean, I understand about urban sprawl. I'm just asking about for height. I'm trying to figure out what it is we are supposed to be commenting on. Are we supposed to be just saying that we need better options for people to get around? Are we saying we want to see more condensed development that is closer to jobs? Are we
What?
asking that bike
The
paths be
latter,
put
I
on
mean,
these
really,
roads
yeah.
where agricultural tourism is supposed to be, a priority? I'm just trying to figure out where we're going with this, because
Yeah,
I know
I
we
think
have a
right
lot
now,
to do
I think
tonight.
I think right now Michael just wants feedback on the plan itself, the farmland plan itself, but I will provide a bigger update later and get your comments on the land use plan itself when I explain and show you the updates and changes in public engagement stuff that's came out of the land use plan the past 2 years and the schedule for that, and get your more comments on the transportation component of that land use plan. It's going to also show where these things are.
Yeah, and I think the overarching goal is to encourage development that's proximal to our established transportation network. To allow development or to support development that allows us to be close to where we work and shop. Reduce the reliance on automobiles as a primary means of transportation.
The other thing this land use plan is going to be doing is in light of this conservation, the conservation subdivision things, is creating many villages around Orange County. Like the areas would be nodes, like you were saying earlier, nodes around rural Orange County where development was going to occur, but the areas around it would be conserved while little mini pocket villages would be sprouting as growth occurs. Land would be preserved while some areas are continuing to develop.
Good, Chloe? Or, sorry.
There's no like youth representative on the board. You could try like reaching out to future Farmer of America clubs that like see their.
I was waiting for somebody to say that word.
We have, on the APB board, we have members that are very active in the Future Farmer of America program.
Coming from a high school who did that in Future Farmers when I was in high school, who did that for 4 years.
Be able to keep farming, like retire. So it might be useful to like people who are going into farming on the board. I don't know how much insight.
Oh, I think that's great thought and very insightful of you to suggest it. And we have members that are working very hard in FFA, kind of very close to me where I live on Orange Grove Road. Just last week, they had a FFA gathering of the Future Farmers of America and the critters, animals that they've been taking care of that are ultimately going to go into the state fair. Yep. Good idea. We don't have any, unlike you, any,
Youth delegate on your board.
yeah, any youth delegates on the board.
It's easy to get.
Something we'll work towards.
Really good for the youth too, to hear what's going on in the county on a broader sense. What I was going to say was, for people, the reason we're talking about this, if I'm remembering, for people who missed, it was 1 or 2 meetings ago, Michael told us he was doing this agriculture thing. And we agreed, those of us that were there, that we wanted to hear more about it. Not that it was like super directly related to transportation, but it is, but that's why you're presenting it, right? Because
Yes, ma'am.
There was an original request earlier, yeah.
okay, just in case people weren't at that meeting where we said that.
Thank you.
And I don't have any answers, but I appreciate all the work you're doing. It seems like a lot of work that you all have to do because it's the classic dilemma. People want to retire, nobody wants to come and do the work. We want to save the land. Who's going to pay for it? So that's a tough balancing act. It would almost be nice if another commission looked at like abandoned properties in some of those areas that could use development, rather than this might be the simple approach where, hey, it's clear land, they go and build something, but maybe look at redeveloping areas and find a way to work with them to incentivize that, to make this less attractive.
Well, that's a good thought. And while I don't know the details, I know that both Chapel Hill and Hillsborough have a vision for the future to grow within the town boundaries with more dense development, more vertical development. We're seeing that a lot.
But appreciate you bringing that information out. This was insightful. And also scary how much land is disappearing from us in a very quick clip.
Yeah. Anything else? All right.
No hands online. Thank you.
Thank you, everybody, for listening to this. Appreciate it. Next item.
The next item is uh, the entire 100-page document of this plan. You're welcome to see. It's in the packet, and it's not sure what website in the department is posted, but it is on our packet. If you want to read the entire document with this appendix. Earlier this month, March 18th, the Board of County Commissioners updated their advisory board's policies and procedures. The guiding document for all advisory boards in the county, including the agriculture, planning board, all the other boards. There's a guiding document. They updated that document with in light of all the changes in laws and stuff. So the various sections were updated that would affect and that would help improve Outboard. In a way of updating that, I've asked, in your packet is the track change version. They haven't published the final adopted version yet. But in this packet, I'm asking y'all to review the current Outboard policies and procedures. There's some track changes that show some of the recommendations and updates in accordance with the changes to the county's guiding document. So I'm happy to go over and discuss these changes. They start at here. The last time we updated the Outboard policy and procedures was when we got the youth delegate on board. That was the last update that we did on our policy. That was back in January when the Safe School Plan was being done. Now that the county's updated their policy, I've added some of those updates into our Outboard policy. The things that you see in red are rephrased versions of the updated county's guiding document added to this, like maintaining the current list of stakeholder groups.
You said.
Oh, sorry, you're not seeing that. What am I? It's not showing. It's not showing.
I was seeing them.
Give me 1 second.
I
Something's
saw- I
not
saw
working
them.
properly. Oh, they're not seeing it here.
We want to get it up on the screen here in the room.
Oh, yes,
And,
I can't see what you're seeing.
Give me a second. It's coming. All right, give me a minute. It's supposed to be coming.
People. Wow.
Wasn't it, if you went back, did they go away on its own?
Yeah, I had to reset it.
Okay.
Come on.
Isn't it just the PDF down on your taskbar? Is that not coming up? Is it off on the other monitor?
There we go. It's working now. So the first change. There's something y'all had mentioned earlier about the best practice we got from public engagement, the previous plans. The guiding document for the county is to maintain a stakeholder list of all groups for ongoing communications. I will be updating a list. I will be providing you a list of our stakeholders that we got from the last year's transportation multimodal plan, the Safe Road to School plan, the short range transit plan, and now currently our bike ped plan. So we have like 4 different lists of stakeholders. I'm going to try to put that list together, present it to y'all. This is simply ensuring that we keep a long track record of all our contacts and our public engagement stuff. So whenever we do a public engagement event or public engagement activity, we can send out a mass distribution to all those people, whether they participate or not, I can't control, but we can at least get the information out there better and keeping that list. The guiding document has a statement in there, so I'm trying to put this into our outboard policy procedures to help enshrine that practice. The others are some little technical administrative corrections and additions. We do have a railroad that comes through Orange County, so rail needs to be added. We do have a train station. Hillsborough is building a train station, so we need to add rail as a project emphasis that was missing. The county's land, we have a lot of plans that have been done. Like we just had today, the farming land plan that we provided comments on, that any of the plans we provide input, feedback on. The NCDOT, federal, USDOT has changing transportation to consider it a multimodal transportation. The synonym multimodal is added to most transportation phrases. Anytime you say transportation is multimodal transportation now. One thing that I realized, and Emily, correct me if I'm wrong, but we had one outboard member resign earlier. I think they had moved. I'm hoping to change that position to another youth delegate. So that would make it 11 voting members and 2 youth delegates.
Be happy to have a youth delegate. Why do we need to drop a voting member in order to?
Yeah, that was just a recommendation. You don't need, if you don't want to, I could keep the 12, keep the 12. I just thought 11 was a more even odd number of voters and stuff like that. That's all.
I like odd numbers of voters. I think that's good.
You're
I'd
going
be
to
in
New York
favor.
for college? Awesome, congratulations. Voting is allowed online. You're going to be participating. Your term is for a whole year. Your term is till December. I think your term is December. When did you join? Or is it till next year? Okay, so you have like 10 more months. You have a while now.
I can in
Yes.
person and some online.
Absolutely. Voting is online is allowed.
Going to college is different from moving, because you still have an Orange County residence.
Yeah, so it's up to you. Do you want me to keep 11 or 12? But I'm still requesting that another youth delegate be added.
Heidi had a comment.
Heidi,
Yes.
did you have a comment?
Oh, no, I just said I like odd numbers of voting numbers. So I like your idea of making it 11. That's all.
Okay. So I got 2 for odd. 3.
There's times when everybody's here and we have a tough vote.
There you go. I think we had like 1 or 2 say no, but things have typically passed. So 11 with 2 youth delegates. The term limits have been updated for the policy thing, so that's been added. There was an issue of residency versus domicile. That's been cleared up.
In the county part of it, rather than the outboard policy, do I read it as that we're obligated to elect a secretary? And that
You're not obligated. It's the options. The chair and vice chair are required. The secretary is not an obligation. Because I think we had that discussion last time we were updating this, because the secretary will be the one keeping minutes. Y'all wanted staff to do that, so staff will take care of that.
So on that point though, the county guidelines say that the commissioners can appoint people that have expired both 3-year terms to an additional term.
Yes,
All right.
because we don't get that many applications. If there was a large pool of applications, and they'd make decision, but we don't have that much of a pool of applicants.
There's some boards that have large pools that have a lot of interest, and so on those, they're trying to do things consistently across.
Yeah, this is formalizing an old informal policy that if you weren't replaced, you could hang around for another year.
Yeah,
There you go.
and if you work, and if you resign and another person comes on, they're still supposed to get the full 3-year term.
That's right.
Yes, sir.
Under meeting B2, does that imply that you or somebody else will always deliver a hard copy a week ahead of time? And is that what you want? People are a little ambitious.
What page are you on?
County.
Meeting C2. The notice of advisory board meetings along with agenda shall be provided at least 7 days in advance via hard copy, email, and the Orange County website to all members, interested parties, and anyone who requests it.
Somebody's obligated.
The guiding document had to phrase it a little differently. This is a paraphrased version of the guiding document of the county. Because y'all are public, it's a public body. Y'all are required to have hard copies, people who need hard copies. It has to be published on the website. It has to be posted, be accessible. There's a lot of ADA laws have changed and updated, so we're going to make sure that, or work with the IT department to ensure that the entire material is accessible. One thing I need to work on is
I
translating.
guess what I'm getting at, accessible be different than.
Yeah. I think we were talking earlier this morning.
Two documents here, county document is handed down from above, I have to do it. And then we have our outboard policies that we can change.
Yeah.
Yeah.
I'm focusing on the outboard too, because y'all need to recommend approval with these changes so I can take it to the county commissioners. County commissioners still have to approve your changes. I'll be sure to use the USPS and mail these things going forward. I'm not gonna have time to keep.
Do we need to specify how then?
No,
Just say 7 days in advance and the
20
website.
miles of road.
I mean, we could clarify that. We could clean that up. I mean, if there's a better language, a better way of phrasing that statement, if y'all want to just remove hard copy email and website, just say made accessible. I don't know how y'all want to phrase it.
7 days in advance and posted to the website. Is that what kind of you're saying?
I mean, I'm actually fine with it.
Instead of specifying?
That you just come to my house, drop it off. That would be the only thing, it's a lot of work, it's a lot of time.
This is my opportunity to see the roads of Orange County, to see how they're doing. It's my chance to actually get out in the field and see what's going on. And if I do see a bicyclist or somebody walk, I can actually stop my car and take a picture of it.
I will say, I think for the section just solely on notice, I would prefer to keep that to online. I think that keeps procedures a lot clearer and prevents us from running into any issues with providing notice. I think agendas, we can continue to aim to do those via hard copy as much as we can, but to make sure that we're hitting our requirements for noticing a meeting, want to make sure that we make that as easy as possible.
Right.
Let me just mention something about the mail. Post office is, I don't know what's going on with them, but they're changing the location centers and all of that. And mail is not, 7 days is not enough to put in the mail. If you were truly going to put hard copies in the mail, you would almost need to have 10 business days. Just FYI, that's what they're telling us. And lots of mail is getting delivered late.
There are pockets of that I see reported, but I don't get a whole lot of it. I send out a hell of a lot of mail.
Yeah, I think the whole point when we had this discussion, I agree with separating it, was that some of these are pretty extensive. Like I printed up the areas that I thought were critical for me tonight to prep. I think it's the preparation that it gets to be pretty hard online sometimes, depending on the screen you're working off of. So I think that's why we requested it. But I do think separating it, like if we're saying for compliance, we have stuff posted online, but like using US mail and getting into us a couple days in advance, it's moving fine.
The only ones that I give hard copies to are basically y'all. Is there of y'all who really wants hard copies? I could just make a list of who really wants. I mean, I could just give it to those who want it. Chloe, Greg, Art, Michael.
Thanks for standing with those old folks.
It's harder to read.
I kind of like it sometimes, but I could do without it if it was a hardship. This is Heidi.
And me as well, Sherry.
Sherry. Okay. So instead of all 13 of everybody, I'll just do it to 5.
Come up my street and try and make that left turn on 70.
Oh, your house is fun. Getting to your house is a way of getting out of that neighborhood. Yeah, right across the street from you. I was like, yeah, my old supermarket. See his truck over there all the time. All right, I cleared this up. I just removed the specifications. I just said in advance, 7 days in advance to all members, interested parties, and anyone who's requesting it. Agenda reviews, I was trying to be more mindful of doing agenda reviews a little bit more regularly, keeping them on my calendar. So like Fridays, we get the draft agenda, then meet Monday or something like that, do an agenda review with you all.
Okay.
Administrative changes, our county department is transportation services. These other things that are on this page for special meetings, you as chair and or I, based on depending on availability and meetings, if we get canceled or anything like that, can call special meetings. Subcommittees can be created, but those subcommittees has to have a goal, task, and a deadline. So you can't have subcommittees existing forever. Voting, like I said, by proxy is not allowed, but online voting is, so you can give you virtual meetings and stuff like that. These are other recommendations, administrative changes. You cannot call this document bylaws. Bylaws are not allowed. And this is why it's called policies and procedures. And that's all the changes. And the idea is to get a motion from y'all and a recommend approval with these changes. And we can always come back and visit this upon your request. Right now, this is just to be in compliance with the county's current updates to their policies and procedures for all advisory boards.
Move to adopt the changes.
Second. Sherry.
Any further discussion? All in favor, say aye. All opposed?
Aye.
Heidi, was that up? Was this?
That was an aye. He said.
Aye,
I
okay,
was supposed to
okay.
Say aye, so I said aye.
Okay, thank you. That's that item. Thank you so much for that. I'm going to stop sharing and open up the presentation of another item that everybody's here to see. And make sure it's the next one on the agenda.
Either.
The meeting invite, when you get the meeting invite, the electronic version will be with the meeting invite and it'll be posted on the website. So you'll get the electronic and the meeting invite and the website link. So if you don't, let us know. If I think we have your Emily, you have his correct email, the new member?
Yeah.
Okay, good, awesome. No, I had to put together a package to the Board of County Commissioners. The Board of County Commissioners will approve it in May. So I think your June meeting will start where these updates are going to be effective. Unless the May meeting is after the Board of County Commissioners. But I added that the board has to approve these changes first. The next item is the bike ped plan. I'm going to give you another present. I'm going to give you a presentation on this. Orange County is currently doing its bike ped plan with the help of Stantec, and this is an update of that plan. This is as y'all requested from the last meeting, an update on the bicycle pedestrian plan. And please stop me at any time to ask any questions because it's a long presentation. The focus of this bike ped plan is the unincorporated areas of Orange County. The areas that you see in blue, we are being mindful of what's going on in their bike ped planning stuff, but we're just not contributing towards theirs, and theirs not really contributing towards ours. We're just making sure that our connection to our stuff is in line with whatever they're doing. But the focus is the uncolored areas, the unincorporated areas of Orange County. We are working with our regional partners, the MPOs and the RPOs, Triangle West and BGMPO and the CPRPO. What makes this project successful are these 3 big benchmarks that are going to make it successful. Is ensuring that we have a strong stakeholder engagement throughout the planning process. It is highly data driven. it is what is really needed, because we can't put bike lane sidewalks everywhere in Orange County, but we can make it sure where it's actually needed. Uses industrial best practices and to ensure successful of any identified projects in this plan. The roles, the people, Stantec is working with Withers to do the planning process, to provide us the input in public engagement. Triangle West TPO is the one who's the regional agency. They're helping pay for this planning process. We have a core technical team meeting with all the local experts, NCDOT, the regional partners, local town and county staff, and other people, the experts, the technical people that are well familiar with the planning and constructing bike ped projects. It is a planning project. That is, you see at the very top, is the plan itself is going to identify specific key projects in all of Orange County to later eventually go into design and then somehow find a way to fund and construct these projects in the future. Orange County has over 920 miles of state maintained roads. It has also 801 miles of town and private roads. All of these are where bicyclists, people walk, and so do our buses and transit services travel on. And these are the functional classifications of all these roads, according to the U.S. Department of Transportation and FHWA. Majority of these roads are called major collectors, minor collectors, and local roads. They make up over 80%, over some 80% of these roads. As you can see, they're the orange, green, and light lines that you see on the map. And as you can see, we also have some of the fastest roads, and Orange County is responsible for some of the faster ones. Majority of all our roads are over 40 miles an hour, 40, 65 miles an hour. That's around 42%. The unknown is because the GIS data isn't all clear, because some of the private roads and some of the subdivisions that are not state maintained. And that's just somebody, or the lack of speed limit signs on some of these roads. This is the travel volume according to the latest modeling that has been done of the current volume, what state resources on some of these roads. The darker lines, the NC 86, US 70, NC 54, again US 70, the blue areas, I-40, I-85.
Can you be sure everybody understands what the acronyms?
Okay, the AADT, average annual daily traffic, is the daily volume, the average daily volume. That is not it. Huh? Throughout the year, what is the average on a day? What does it travel on that road? Some of it can be higher in some days, it can be lower in others, like weekends and holidays, so it can be higher in some places, but this is the average. The AADT is a fundamental standard used by engineering and planning world to monitor and project future forecast and changes in the level of service.
So why the range from 10,000, I'm looking at US 70, 10,000 to 18.5? What is the average?
No, because it's various segments. It's different segments. As you can see, if you look in the segment, do you see one segment is 11, one segment is 13, one segment is 16. The range that you see is at various segments.
Thank you very much, of course. Is there any projection on the decrease in US 70 once I-40 is completed?
That is a technical exercise and debate I'm having with the MPOs and ITRI that's modeling some of this stuff. I need to let me get some analysis and some changes and stuff done with the technical people
Sure.
and bring that analysis back to you.
Yeah.
Right now, their VOC and other stuff is, right now I'm debating and challenging some of the findings. Yeah.
Thanks.
Huh? Vehicles, not cars, all vehicles. There's a separate AADT is average annual daily traffic. It's for all vehicles, freight, truck, train, car, any vehicle that's on the road. It doesn't distinguish and separate what kind of vehicle. There's a separate AADTT, average annual daily truck traffic, that is focused specifically on freight traffic. And we have two regional freight plans Triangle West area has a freight plan that shows where the freight corridors are, and Burlington also has a model of Orange County where the freight corridors. So there's a separate volume for truck traffic. This is mainly for all vehicles. Crashes. Stantec was able to go and pull some of the data, some of the crashes from NCDOT, and as you can see, 861 bike ped crashes in Orange County. And these are the scattered areas where some of those crashes have been located at, and 151 of them in unincorporated areas, Orange County. Well, we account for 20%. Municipalities account for majority of the bike ped crashes. Again, we're not dealing with the municipalities' bike ped issues. We're dealing with the Orange County, the almost 20% of the bike ped stuff in rural areas of Orange County. Fatalities and serious injuries. This is the opposite. You can see 80% is over in unincorporated Orange County, while 70% is in municipal areas.
For that to be.
Town limits, the Hillsborough, Chapel Hill, Carborough, they have town limits. They have a growth boundary within their town, their extraterritorial jurisdiction. We're not dealing with those town areas. Everything else is unincorporated. We're part of unincorporated for Orange County. All the stuff that you see everywhere else besides the light blue areas. Yes. All. Yeah, this is all vehicles that all may include pedestrians. Yeah. Yeah. I mean, it could be a car hitting a pedestrian or a bicycle or something like that, but the car was involved. Vision Zero is focused on reducing and eliminating this. These are the various hotspots. This is a far more detailed map than the one that's published that I did a few years ago. This is more based on recent data. I mean, as you can see, the data source was 2014 to 2023. So these are the various hotspots that show us where these crashes are. It's the areas that are in the unincorporated areas that are going to be the focus in areas of some of these issues. The bigger the circle, the more crashes, the higher the hotspot.
Are on those more heavily traveled areas.
Yeah. US 70 right outside of Mebane, NC 86 and 57 right north of Orange Hillsborough, 86 and I-40 right north of Chapel Hill. There's spots along Dodson Crossroads. There's spots on Lebanon Road. So the bigger the circle, I mean, going south into Chatham County, you can see a huge spot right there outside of Walmart.
Nish, this is Sherry, a question.
Yes.
If, I'm thinking of driving down Old NC 86, and it's especially by where the old Mapleview Farm is, there's lots and lots of bicycles. But
Yes.
the road, I guess I'm trying to figure out, you've got 70, which has a much higher volume of traffic. Is the ratio of bike to volume of traffic the same, or I mean, not the same? How will I understand the volume of accidents to the volume of traffic? Does that make sense?
That's a good question. That makes sense. That's a good question. That is, I don't think that's an analysis been done yet.
Okay, because this
It's been
would
separated.
make
They've
it
been
look,
considered separately.
this would make it look like these huge, because you've got these huge circles, but you don't really know the context of the volume of traffic.
That's a good question, and that's something that we will be investigating as I get more into the data. You're right. The volume and safety have been always in North Carolina treated two separate things, two independent things. Volume has been treated as congestion and mobility and modernizing roads and mobility, getting more cars around, while safety has always been treated as a separate criteria, as a separate formula, a separate issue, as a separate thing. And we haven't done any modeling to connect the two yet. I think there's a safety action plan that's been going on BGMPO did a safety action plan for our area earlier. Triangle West is finishing theirs in the next several months or next few months. Sorry, next 2 months. They should be finishing theirs pretty soon. So that new plan will help address some of this stuff, but very good question, and I'll have to get back to you on finding new ways of connecting the two issues, volume and crashes.
Thank you.
This map shows you a list of various STIP projects that are currently funded, that are currently in the adopted STIP, the park and ride lots. These are some focusing mainly on mobility and trying to address curve alignments. The Affluent Cedar Grove North Farm Improve Horizontal Alignment, I think that's a completed project. But I'll have to go back and check some of these, but these are the projects that are currently in the STIP. Oh, the STIP is a state transition improvement program. It's a capital funded 10-year plan that's updated every 2 years. And that includes funded committed projects and development projects. Y'all recently approved a list of projects to be submitted for the Spot 8 process, and I'll be giving y'all an update on that. I'll give you an update in June regarding the adopted STIP, the new one that's coming, board is approving. And if these projects are staying and which ones are moving. The consultant has also looked into a lot of transportation plans and projects and programs that have been lately adopted, like the transportation multimodal plan. They've looked at the list of bike ped projects that are in the one that you see on the right is the RPOs, bike ped projects that are in the CPRPO. You can see the area around Hillsborough and the other areas are missing pieces. That's the Triangle West comprehensive transportation plan, so it's a different document. But the transportation multimodal plan is a way of putting it all together. That's also taken into consideration as this planning process is being done. We're working with NCDOT Integrated Mobility Division. They're the division within NCDOT that helps determine funding for bike ped projects. To help determine the infrastructure needs and projects, aligned with state policies and procedures, and what the county wants and county needs through its plans. We're currently, right now, collecting all the data. All the data has been collected, all the feedback's been taken, a round of workshops has been done, and now we're in the consultant is working on the testing phase, testing some of the ideas, solutions, recommendations that have came up from the public engagement. They'll be working on refining them in the summer. We will be busy in the summer. I will be presenting to you the draft plan later, and we'll get into the weeds of the projects and stuff and your recommendations and those things. I'll get Santec to see if they can come and present during that time. The plan is scheduled to be completed in the fall for your recommendation and your consideration later. From your consideration, and it'll go to the Board of County Commissioners in the end. We have another round of public workshops that'll be done in the summer. As you can see, it'll be very busy.
How many testing?
Modeling, Santec is a professional engineering firm. They'll be doing a lot of modeling. They'll be doing a lot of scenarios and things like that. I'll be presenting you feedback as to get some of that information comes out when they start drafting the plan. And it'll be during the second round of public workshops. They'll present their findings and get feedback on those findings during the second round of public workshops. And then once that second round of public workshops done and their input on those recommendations, we'll prepare the draft plan and present to you the draft plan through that process.
And they back any error rate, like if they model something and it's completely wrong, it's like, or it has a 25% error rate, what happens?
The modeling, the error is mainly from the public engagement with the model says here, do these recommendations, do these projects, and do these things, improvements based on the analysis, the data analysis based piece. That public workshop is where the public would determine if those are sound, right, or not. We did a public engagement. I did a meeting at the Carolina Tar Wheels. It was at a farm, at a fire station. Carolina Tar Wheels provided input feedback on what they thought would be important. They provided their route maps and route services where they go in their long bicycle routes. We did presented to the Santec also presented to the new Carborough Library. We did a workshop with the Carborough Library with the TPO did a Vision Zero plan at the same time. So you got feedback from them. They did stakeholder meetings with a bunch of stakeholders, steering committees. I mean, we ain't even got the school board, school staff involved. The school transition director participated in a stakeholder meeting about this stuff. Got a lot of feedback from them. So it's the public that will determine if these projects are viable or not.
And we're always interested if there's other people that want to hear about it or other suggestions of places to go, like send those to us for sure. 'Cause
Please let me know. I'm happy to present to y'all. And if there's meetings, group stakeholders, HOAs and PTAs, I'm happy to come out there and present this whole thing to them, get feedback. Yeah. Trust me, when you go to the second round of workshops, and when you do, I'll get, if y'all like to get into the data and the weeds and the modeling and stuff like that, I'll get Santa to come and get into all that detail.
Based on the company.
Yeah, Santec is the firm. I'll give you their contact information at the end of this presentation. There is a website you can go to right now. It is live. It'll be up and throughout the whole planning process. hub.walkrollocnc.com. There's a survey you can fill out. There's an interactive map out there. There's listening sessions. All the presentations are there. Community workshops are there. Public engagement activities. Like I said, we did a pop-up event in the Hillsborough Library earlier. Workshop was done in March 13th. I think we can do a few more. We don't have it planned right now, but we can do a couple more. I've been trying to work with Weaver Street to get that for a long time. And every time I go to that manager and stuff like that, oh, somebody's using it for the band. The band's over there playing, the musicians over there playing. He's already booked it. Like, when can I do it? I'm happy to sit down and get a table out there for all the bikers that come out there every time. I keep,
It's just like people are using it as transit.
oh, Saturday, Sundays are full of bikers. Yeah.
I'm sorry, my earphones just went dead and I missed something, but did you say Wilson Park? Because there are a ton of bike riders at Wilson Park every Saturday.
As she was
and
saying, River
Sunday.
Park, I think, Riverwalk.
Okay, Wilson Park in Carborough has rides going out every Saturday and Sunday.
Wilson Park,
Carborough.
Riverwalk. Yeah.
Yeah, there's also a lot of cyclists over, it's not Orange County, but it's the Sexbaha, the general store. On the weekends, it's full of bicyclists, bikers and
Most of
actually
them come from Orange County.
Huh?
Most of them start in Orange County.
Right. But I'm just saying that's a good place to get like maybe information on bulletin board, and also Cup of Joe's. A lot of people start their bike rides from Cup of Joe's in Hillsborough.
Yeah.
Again, they have a bulletin board too.
I'd also throw out the Maple View ice cream store. People
That would be,
well,
yeah.
like waiting for people, but people drive out there, park their car with their bike, and then ride from there.
Yeah.
So they're out in the camp.
Maple View ice cream. So I got Wilson Park, Riverwalk, Sexapawk Weekend Store, Cup of Joe's, and Maple View, and Weaver Street. Well, there's 3 Weaver Streets. I realize there's one in Southern Village, there's one in Carborough, and then there's one here.
There's one in downtown Raleigh.
Downtown Raleigh. But I don't think Raleigh people
No,
like all the way up here.
They randomly have one down there too.
Yeah. Which one would be better, Carborough or the Southern Carborough?
Definitely the not the one at Southern Village. That wouldn't be. But you could put up signs like she said at Cup of Joe's in Hillsborough and Weaver Street in Hillsborough as well.
Yeah. Those are some few places I would look into, see if I can put something together there over the next month or two.
I did a survey of one bicycle, and he hadn't heard about it. One person.
Yeah. We've had good turnout in each of these pop-up events. We've had a decent, I wouldn't say great, it's been decent. I mean, we've had the library that we had at the Drakeford event, there was like 25 people. The first pop-up that we had at the Hillsborough Library was around 20 people, and a couple of them were kids with their bikes. There's been a lot of key takeaways, like personal safety has been a big issue. Road maintenance, paved shoulders has been a big issue. roundabouts and reducing vehicle speed is another issue. We started the survey. We had a lot of online respondents come in on the survey, filling out themes. This is a word diagram you see at the bottom that shows some of the key importance that have come out of this public engagement stuff and where people are seeing issue concerns and things that we want to be addressing through this process. Safety has been a big issue, walking and biking, improving connectivity. And as of recently, in the interactive map, we had only a few spots on the map when we started this. Now there's over almost 200 spots on the interactive map that talk about where people were seeing and issues and concerns. Yes, there's a lot in Hillsborough, but as you can see, there's more and more in rural Orange County. As you can see, more dots and more markups coming out in rural Orange County the longer we have this website live. There's places that people like to go to, is bicyclists have like to go to on their routes and stuff. They like, there's parks like the Blackwood Farm Park. There's like the Maple View area, like community centers in Cedar Grove. There's other destinations right outside Carborough over there on Jonas Ferry Road. There's things in University Place area, NC10 area that people like to go to. There's certain destinations. You can click on each one of these dots and see what their comments are and what those destinations are that people like to bike to. And the longer that we keep this going, the more and more dots you're going to be seeing. So if spread the word, share this, and get more people involved in this. So the plan is drafted. Once the plan is drafted. No.
Which website was that? Was that the walk?
This one.
The walk. The walk. That's one.
Okay, I'll walk around here.
Here's a QR code. You could just simply use the QR code. Like I said, we do the best we can spread the word. We share, I mean, EMPOs, RPOs have been helping us spread the word. We've been trying to get as much engagement out there. I guess one thing that I haven't done and I should be doing better on is translating these documents to other languages and getting more people to be aware of it, other languages.
This all be posted on with our minutes or?
I'll post a public packet in the website. Transit is also a key component because a lot of this transit access is also where people can bike and walk because our buses do carry bikes. These are some of the areas that are of concern. The key discussion areas along the routes and stuff. The dotted lines that you see on this area are key routes that a lot of cyclists have been taking. We've been provided, they've been giving us that feedback to see these are where they're cycling in some of these roads that are heavily used by cyclists. Not all roads, as you can see, but the main ones. NCDOT has a new updated screening tool regarding equity. This equity is a new practice that's been going on. It's similar to what used to be called environmental justice is now equity and transit indexes. IMD created this and it's a great resource to show demographics in areas of concern. Transportation disadvantage index is the main issue now that talks about where overlapping concerns of minorities, race, income, zero car households, seniors, disabled. And the more census block has these, the greater of concern, the greater the disadvantage index is, the darker it gets by having multiple of these. As you can see in this is their screening tool for Orange County. The dark green that you see right outside of Hillsborough, that's Fairview. The area between Hillsborough and Mebane that you see, between US 70 and I-40, that's Efland, and going west is St. Matthew's Church and areas near Buckhorn Road. Near going on the east side, right outside of Durham, that's University Place area. The darker green, the more disadvantaged area index it is. This is score of where how high they are. And the focus is not just the athletic and recreational bicyclists, but one thing that we've learned a lot, like I mentioned earlier from the State Ride School, is this plan is planning for all ages. The most vulnerable, the kids that are walking and biking, to the seniors and elderly that are also walking and biking, in wheelchairs, ADA, or to the healthy fit ones. And I'm surprised they got some of these pictures of a kid in front of a truck.
Pretty job, Jake.
Yeah. We're again focusing on those children, elderly, disabled, the low level stress tolerance, as well as the highly confident avid bicyclists. These are some of the value. Yes, ma'am.
I'm sorry, I have a question. I have recently had some back issues, and so I've been using a cane and have had some mobility issues. And I am noticing that there are very few handicap parking places in Hillsborough, for example, downtown. But the reason I'm raising this is because is there any kind of thought, or is it appropriate to think about parking for the cyclists or the disabled or whatever at key points in this planning, on this plan, on these maps? Is there some thought to that, or is that even in the context of this plan?
Not in this plan, but there is another plan that Hillsborough is working on. Now I need to get more information about it. Talk to their staff. Hillsborough should be doing a parking study of their town, and that is where that issue would be big coming up in ADA parking, ADA access, disabled, other bike racks and micromobility and stuff like that. Let me look into this right now and check with Hillsborough staff as to what is the status of their parking study that they're planning to do. I think Chapel Hill is also trying to do one too.
Right, but and that's great to know, because they'll find some of those things out. But I guess what I'm trying to think about is bicyclists start from some point, and maybe they pull out of their houses, or they gather at a place to get together to do their cycling en masse, because you often see them, like an old 86, you'll see 6 or 7 or 8 bicyclists all together.
Yep.
Is there a question that we need to be even thinking about regarding parking accessibility as part of this plan? Or is that just kind of really not something we're going to be thinking about?
I would mention this to the consultant, is the bicycle parking.
Thanks.
Like a trail.
Like all the cars that gather.
Yeah, not where you chain up.
Like a park and ride, like the people are coming with their car, they're bringing their bike with them. There's parking in this one area, and they're a group of getting together with their parking and then getting on their bikes and cycling. Yeah.
That's what they do.
Oh, sorry, Sherry, is that what you meant, or did you mean bike parking?
No, that's what I meant. That's what I meant. Exactly. Thank
Park
you.
and ride lots and park and ride.
Wasn't
Okay.
particularly articulate, but you got it there. Thanks, Josh.
Gonna have.
Yeah, that'll get into the infrastructure recommendations. Yes.
There's places where there are viable places to ride a bike where you're not allowed to take a bike, like the Riverwalk. If you're biking the Riverwalk, you can't get anywhere near the Okanagan Speedway. There's like a cutoff where past this point, there's no bicycles. But you could actually, if bikes were allowed on that stretch and up to the beginning of the speedway, you could bike all the way to the Sportsplex without having to go on any roads. So to what extent can this plan think about, because, and that's a long walk, like if you're gonna walk from downtown to the Sportsplex, but it's doable on a bike. And I'm wondering to what extent this would include taking trails and thinking about whether they could be used for more things than are used for.
I would love to be able to participate and shape that, but that's a Hillsborough project. That's a Hillsborough
That's
thing.
stretch, I think that's stretch.
No.
Yeah.
State park. Now, Okanagan Speedway is now part
No,
of.
no, I mean, that's stretch.
Oh, that little stretch is a trail. for
Longer
Okanagan.
to speak.
First, there are people-
Yeah.
Maybe I might be able to join the end on the.
Come on, like, get online when you get home if you get a chance to. Yeah, so be here for a little while. Thank you.
Which all get you away from that stretch. Seven.
Right, that nobody wants.
There's parts of the town project, if it's in the town limit areas, we won't be able to shape or change or anything like that because they have a strong control of their connectivity planning, connect things like that. It's like me getting involved in Chapel's Homestead Road or other projects that they have, like yeah, I would love to, but I'm sorry, we're not getting into the town stuff.
Can I just say that having lived in DC, the Mount Vernon Parkway on the weekends was horrible for people who just wanted to walk because the bicycles were so thick and so obnoxious. So you have to kind of figure out, and we don't have the same large population as we did in DC, but boy, it can get out of hand sometimes with bicyclists and pedestrians.
Yeah. Very true. Shall we continue?
Yeah, please.
These are some of the values that are being addressed through this planning process: improving health, safe travel, getting into cost, benefit analysis, environmental resources. Greenway is a big part of this, is going to be part of this as well. The bottom right corner is a big greenway you see. We'll be working on the greenways as well. The plan takes into consideration every planning document that's been out there. I think there's a record of 60-some documents and plans that are in this incorporated together. All these other plan reviews locally and regionally. These are some of the regional plans and regional connectivity things that are done by other places. They're also shaping this process. These are some of the discussion items and goals that have been had at public workshops. What are your values in the county, goals, vision, and where do you want to see reflected in the plan? The next step is to get all this information together. Hopefully, late May, get an existing conditions report put together, show where the networks are going to be, where the areas are going to be focused on bike ped, priority, primary networks, and then get some recommendations of the plan, hopefully later in the summer when we get to the technical stuff. Stantec will be leading a lot of this work as an outside consultant to put it all together. This is a project map that we have in the transportation multimodal plan. There's over 200 some bike ped projects already listed in that document. So this is the Stantec is not working with a blank slate. They're not reinventing the wheel. They're taking things that's already been adopted, already been approved, validating, checking them, testing them to see if they need to stay or they need to be changed and updated. So it's not just a clean slate, but actually building off of what has already been done previously. They're going to create a prioritization stuff. The transportation multimodal plan already does a prioritization stuff and it uses GIS modeling, GIS analysis, model builder to show some of the priorities and how bike ped projects are scored. It's a great tool that it's published and you can see it. And it's a huge appendix that goes into the detail of the technical stuff, aspects of it, scoring. This prioritization, this center will also provide a new unique prioritization to help you shape that. And then that is where we are right now and letting you know the status of it. These are the contacts. I'm the project manager leading this project. Stantec Timothy is the leader on the Stantec side, working with it. Danielle Ron is a public engagement officer for the Witherly, and Madeline, who is the Triangle West, is the one who's helped funding this project. Yes.
Like to this point. I don't know if this is the appropriate place to bring it in to Stantec doing the assessment here, but one of the things that has been successful in other counties is partnering with Duke Energy in order to get bike paths along the power line strip because they already own that and we don't have to worry about purchasing right of ways and whatnot. And other counties have been very successful in that. And I actually don't think I've ever brought it up since you've been here, Nish, but
What is that, you know, what kind of projects do they do with Duke Partnership? Because that's the second time I've heard that.
Pave them.
hey, yeah.
Yeah, they pave them.
Okay, I've heard of that. I've seen that happen in Charlotte,
Yeah, I
in
mean,
Mecklenburg. I've seen that happen. I didn't know.
to be our biggest partner.
Duke Energy or is it just Duke? Or does Piedmont Energy not do it? Okay,
It
Yeah, I
was
think
initially a CP&L.
okay.
Other Woodcroft development in Stern County. But they have that. It's actually right by my daughter's house, which is big swath. It's actually a pretty high powered electrical line. And that's where the neighborhood had its walking path. I don't know if they.
I will get that to Stantec. I will get that to Timothy, let him looking into that. And maybe you get Duke, do a stakeholder meeting with the Duke Energy to see if we can get them involved.
I had asked them like that. Thank you.
I try to do this process justice.
Yeah, very, very interesting.
And I'll try to be, thank you for the list of the places that I need to do some more pop-up events too. So I'll try to organize some of the more pop-up events and get out there. If y'all know of any others, please send them to me and I'll see what I can arrange. Yeah, and get your feedback. The more, I want y'all aware of this planning process and more feedback, the better. I mean, there was I didn't have a schedule as to when y'all want me to keep providing. I don't want to do it every month, every meeting or every other meeting. So whenever y'all want it, there is a benchmark that I will have for y'all is the second round of workshops. When the second round of workshops are done and a draft plan is presented, I'll be presenting you the draft plan. Y'all will have a month to review that plan, make any changes and any improvements. Santa would make those improvements, and it will come back to you at the end of that month to take an actual recommend that the board get y'all to recommend that the Board of County Commissioners approve that plan. So when that'll be done, hopefully by the end of December, I can get this thing done. At least that's my goal. If fall, the sooner the better, but I want to make sure it's as thorough as possible and as engaging as possible. When the plan is drafted, I told Santa not to take any of that down until the plan is drafted. Keep sharing the word, keep engaging, doing as much as we can. I mean, like I said, when I have pop-up events, meeting events, I'll update our social media, get the word out there and send it to the RPOs and MPOs to get them to share the word. Any other questions, comments? If y'all have them, by all means, look at this material, look at the website, look at the content and stuff, and message me, email me, contact me, provide me all this stuff. If you want to get into the details and data, I'm happy to get together, show you the data and the details and stuff like that, get into the weeds, the modeling and data. That's that presentation. And one last item, and this is just simply to get your feedback on this. As I mentioned a couple months ago, transportation services like other departments like EMS and solid waste or other departments, we provide consultation to the planning department. When development reviews come in, when an applicant wants to make changes to their land, reviews and updates to their land, make change, like whether it's a rezoning or by right development or building a shed or some other storage or turning their home into an office, all developments go through, we provide comments on the traffic and multimodal impact of that change in their land. We do a report, we do a memo to the planning department as every DAC for the development, part of the Development Advisory Committee, the DAC. We meet every month or every other week whenever they have applications, depending on the number of applications that they have. We review those applications and provide a report. That report has been a one pager lately over the past couple of years. I've revamped that over the past 2 years, working with planning department to, at some point in the future, generate a fee for a full multimodal assessment, a review of that development. I think I presented to you all earlier, couple meetings ago, a template of what this new report is going to look like. It was a few pages. It was just a template based on the research and analysis of complete streets across the country, based on other counties and cities that are doing this already. They're taking their TIAs, the traffic impact analysis, and made a multimodal impact analysis. I just can't say the word impact. We can't do impact fees in North Carolina. But assessments we can. We can do assessing the impact that the development does. Y'all tasked me to, well, this report would be a service that we provide that applicant. As part of providing that detailed service, the Unified Development Ordinance would be authorizing us to do this because the UDO is giving us some local control, local ability to do that. And for that service that we would be providing, we'd be collecting a fee for that, like solid waste and other places do as part of their reporting. Y'all saw the template, y'all want feedback as to what is the workload of that template? What are some examples of applying that template to some applications? So I'm going through that process right now and doing some exercise of that report. This is an example of a home occupancy permit, a person taking their home and turning it into a business. They're turning their home, it's a residential property, they're building an office next to it, and that office is going to generate traffic. Because that office is generating traffic, I did a full report, took me 6 hours to do this report.
6 hours, this is a really simple one, with very little impact. I mentioned that just in figuring out what the fee should be, because we would like to make money, not lose money.
Yeah. The fee is also working on, because the fee was another big question that y'all had, because the research that I've done research on is the fees range all across the board. There's minimal stuff to encourage this and not make this an issue. There's large fees. I think Durham County does it like $800, $1,000 depending on their plus acreage and other things. So it's pretty expensive in Durham. So they already have this in place in some places. It can encourage development. It can be a large revenue generator. My finance department wants to make sure that is this worth the time and effort? Is there enough generating revenue for this to be sufficient to go through this work? So I'm working with, right now I'm working with WSP to improve that research that I've done on the template and try to provide what is a good fee structure to do this. My next step is to go through the Unified Development Ordinance and make changes to the Unified Development Ordinance, the land use plan, to improve this practice and basis. So in front of you is a updated report used of that template.
WSP, the consultant.
Yeah.
Have you looked at or thought about the property that is subject to rezoning on 54?
I will be doing that one. I'll be doing a couple others right now. I'm going through that process. There's other thresholds that we have right now that are already in the UDO. Like if you do 80 houses, you got to get a professional engineering firm to do a TIA.
Right.
If you do 800, if your development generates 800 vehicles per day, average vehicles, you got to do a professional. I'm going to be lowering that. I'm going to be increasing that threshold to 20 houses to 200 trips per day. So I'm going to be changing I'll be make recommendations. I'll be putting together a report to change the UDO to improve those recommendations. To say, okay, if you're going to build 20 houses, you're going to do a TIA. If you're going to generate 200 vehicles, you're doing a TIA. As long as local jurisdictions are tighter than states, state is 1,000. So, but I got to do some more research to what is a good number to.
I think Josh.
Yes, Josh.
Yeah, I definitely have concerns about this being applied to the by right development process, especially the home occupation that's brought as an example, because the home occupation is a by right process. If they meet the regulations, they get the home occupation. I think it's tough to assess how a transportation analysis could influence whether the permit is issued or not. I think it definitely makes a lot more sense in a context where the county commissioners have to approve a project, but I struggle to see how this 9 pages would do anything if they meet all the home occupation standards of being so far from the property lines and not being visible and having the necessary parking and all that.
Yeah, this is not to discourage, this is not to refute or challenge or say no to that development. This is not to counter the application or anything like that. This is mainly to provide a multimodal assessment of that application a service that we're providing to the applicant itself. It's not necessarily to shape or sway the decision of a permit or an application. I mean, even the TIA is a full assessment that shows there's going to be mitigation to that impact.
And it's based on volume. So if it's a home business, the volume might not be there.
And there, I mean, this has got no volume, this has got no impact. This is on a private, I mean, if you read this report itself, it's on a private road where we have zero jurisdiction anyway.
Yeah, I mean, I guess I just have concerns about doing this amount of work for any by right where the assessment does not have to influence what the developer does. I think that, even if you recommended, oh, this project is on a very busy rural hub and should have a sidewalk, the developer could just say no, and they still meet the regulations for home occupation. I think I have some concerns about trying to run these analyses if we're not looking at solid outcomes for them.
This feels really subtle. I'm not sure I'm gonna explain it well, but what if this report, so it is something you give to them, because it doesn't sound like it would change anything. That's
No, it doesn't change, yeah.
But the value could be more in aggregate for the county to know, when you look at the sum total of all projects over a period of time, like what area is getting a potential impact, or what. Like, I could see how it could be useful to the county to have this information for all of the, is this requesting permits? I don't even know what this is. All of the things that were requested to be done, so that we can look and say like, okay, here's all the things that were requested to be done, and here's where there's some sort of like overlap, and that adds up to potential things that we might have to deal with.
Right, just like the farming, the development that's going on in Maple View, the farming itself would be getting, we have no control over the traffic impact of that farming development. I mean, that it will have impact on that traffic, it will have impact. We have no control over that development, but we will have a report that says, okay, here's the impact that it's gonna cause anyway.
So, to Josh's point, that would be if allowed to go forward, a by right project
Yeah, would
under
be,
agritourism.
yeah,
But the developer might not pay for the
The fee-
analysis, but to Jamie's point, it would be very helpful for the county and the citizens to understand the impact that would have, not only from a TIA, and the other question was about 54, and, TIA traditionally is not multimodal, or you're looking at a bigger picture.
yeah. TIA is mainly vehicle, it's mainly the vehicle traffic, but TIA is only assessing the vehicle part. It's not assessing transit, it's not assessing multimodal, it's just saying the amount of vehicles that are in that area. I mean, we're providing a service, improving our customer service and quality of our service to both the commissioners and the applicant while generating a fee for that service.
I
We
guess-
have no impact on some of those applications.
I guess, does it make sense I feel like this is playing the balance of a smooth development process and transportation analysis. I think I'll say in Chapel Hill, we're moving in the opposite direction of raising our TIA threshold, of removing our requirement for sidewalks at every single subdivision. Because we've found that these things can discourage development and can discourage people from using their property. And I think that I just have some of those concerns with this analysis, especially if it can't influence commissioner decisions.
I would build on that same thing. Look at who benefits. So the study sounds to be beneficial to Orange County, but not necessarily to the person doing the development.
Right.
So the question would be, is there are times when the study is required. Is it better to have a private company do that, and then the county collects like a review fee, so whatever that fee is, so that way they can go use whatever they want, they need to comply with this framework, and then we charge, whatever, $100 review fee, spend whatever time it takes to do the review.
Yeah, because there's certain fees that developers have to do. State law mandates them, because solid waste and soil erosion is a fee that they have to do. State mandates them to pay that fee because of state law. Zone planning has no stopping that soil erosion, solid waste, and other things, erosion control, to do that fee. UDO would be allowing us to do this, to collect that fee, local ordinance, local regulations to collect that fee for a report that may at some point support that development, support that application, that, hey, we had Fiddlehead. Fiddlehead was a subdivision that they were going to build a sidewalk and they were going to put a bus stop. The development was going to do that. This report would have helped them get that thing approved because they're providing that support through that development process without being asked, without.
Have too many people on staff that we're trying to find some fee, or, you know,
And that's why I'm working with WSP to help, hopefully they can help me with some of that research.
Yeah, I mean, I think it makes sense to apply that research and to apply a process for multimodal on bigger projects, ones that are going to council or ones that are getting a traffic impact analysis. But I guess, especially on these by right ones, it feels like it may cause the process to slow on a permit that folks are entitled to as long as they meet the rules.
Very good point. That is, I would be taking that into consideration to show some of that. I'm sure that is a issue that will come up again. Thank you, Josh. So as you can see, this is a full version of the report for this development of multimodal analysis, local plans, projects. The data piece, that is something that I've been getting requests from planning department when they get an application. What's the functional class of this road? What's the travel vehicle amount on this road and stuff like that, level of service. So trying to structure that process. Other multimodal assessments and impacts. And in the end, the accessibility, equity, conclusion. In the end, I still had to give, whenever it comes to development review process, the DAC memos, I still had to give them this one pager. And these bullet point things they added to their staff report. Their staff report goes to the commissioners when it goes to any permitting, any approval. So all this stuff, I'm still doing part of this already right now. The report is just a little bit more expanding on that service.
I really like it. Just throw that out there. I like the boxes that you checked and the comprehensive perspective it gives over at TIA.
Yeah, I got to thank AARP and the Complete Street Coalition to help me see what is being done across the country in some of these places.
Really, AARP,
AARP did this.
really.
Complete Street Coalition's been doing this and been pushing this thing.
Not just for your free cup of coffee.
So there's been a lot of work that's been done across the country in moving towards a multimodal reporting of all development things. That multimodal aspect is becoming the trend, growing trend, rather than, okay, I just want to know what the traffic impact is going to be of this development.
I think it's great.
Thank you so much for your feedback and input on this, and I'll take those notes and help see what I can do to address as I work through. My next phase is the UDO, Unified Development Order Assessment. In front of you is what's in your packet is the NCDOT updates, the TPD stuff, Transportation Planning Department, and in their packet is also the project updates and statuses of some of the projects. All the implemented projects that are in already being done. And that is all I have for y'all for this month's meeting. Thank you so much for staying so late. Appreciate your feedback and input. Thank you.
Yeah, move adjourned.